AOC tees off on a big Democrat donor, and you got to wonder how long are businesses going to put up with this kind of treatment. I'm Scott Ott, and this is Bill Whittle Now. And Bill, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the famed representative in her rookie season from a district in New York, was on this week on ABC News, and I want to refer to what she actually said here. She basically said that Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, being a billionaire, was not a problem for her as long as he didn't pay his workers starvation wages and that they should get great health care and things like that, a living wage. Amazon responded on Twitter and said, AOC is just wrong. Amazon is a leader on pay at $15 minimum wage plus full benefits from day one. We also lobby to raise the federal minimum wage. And Bill, it occurred to me that the corporations like Amazon and people like Jeff Bezos have been big Democrat boosters for years. And now this woman who has the spotlight upon herself is going after them when they're doing everything that the Democrats have asked them to do. You're Jeff Bezos. How do you react to this?
If I'm Jeff Bezos, I guess I buy her district, and put in a clone or of some kind of mine. There's a lot here. The first part about it is just the tone, I'm glad that she doesn't have a problem with Jeff Bezos' success. That's really reassuring to me that he's going to be allowed to keep his business because she doesn't have a problem with that. But she does have conditions. And that is the main thing. A woman who can't even do her own job in Congress, which is not exactly, rocket surgery, is telling a guy who's running the most successful operation in the world what he can and cannot do. I know that's not the point of why you're asking, but
the interesting thing to me, Bill, is that she takes it a step further. It's not only that she's telling him what to do, but he's already doing it. For example, she said...
No, I get it. I do. I just want to start off with that observation that seems to be kind of endemic among these kind of people that just are determined to tell you what to do. Even if they've amounted to bartenders, not that there's anything wrong with being a bartender. I'm all in favor of citizen legislators, but I do find it a warning to hear people who have legislative authority use that kind of tone. So on to the main issue. The two issues are, is the attack fair? Is she hurting Democratic chances? And does Google and Bezos specifically think that because they're left-wing donors, that they're immune to this kind of criticism? The first thing I thought of when I heard the press release or the tweet or whatever it was from Amazon is, we're leaders in getting a $15 per hour national minimum wage. And I thought that's so that you can put out whatever businesses that are still in competition, you can put them out of business too, and then you can deliver everything from pizzas to pianos. The answer, I think, is no. And no, you cannot ever be... you cannot ever buy the favor of the crocodile, Scott. You can't even really convince him to eat you last. This political philosophy that AOC represents is the philosophy of envy and failure. Jeff Bezos has made arguably the biggest success in the history of the world by resisting all of those qualities. However, really what it comes down to is, in order to enjoy his enormous houses and his private jets and all the rest of it, he has to be willing to condemn them, and in very serious terms. And as long as he's willing to condemn the things that he has, then he's allowed to keep them for the time being anyway. But the one thing he can't do is be proud of them or suggest in any way that he worked for them. So if he thinks that donating to the Democratic Party is going to spare him these kind of personal attacks from the likes of this person who has a 60% disapproval rating in her own district, I think they're all due for a wake-up call.
Well, ABC News' Jonathan Karl, the news anchor there, pressed Ocasio-Cortez about whether she thinks that the reason why Jeff Bezos is a billionaire is because they pay so-called starvation wages. And she said, quote, that's certainly part of the equation, but she added that she thought that Bezos and Amazon, Amazon should pay more in taxes and should increase Amazon's benefits, including free college tuition and healthcare, which is, I thought, interesting since she was promising that the government was going to take care of that. But in any case, Amazon responds and says, Amazon associates receive industry-leading starting pay at $15 an hour, which we said. Amazon prepays 95% of continuing education tuition costs through its career choice program to associates who want to pursue in-demand careers. In addition, they go on to list that they've paid $2.6 billion in taxes in the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And Jeff Bezos, while worth a great deal of money because he owns a bunch of Amazon stock, has received a salary going back to 1998 of $81,840 a year. This is his
Is that all the money he has?
This is his annual salary, and he has never received a stock award. So his wealth is in the amount of stock that he owns because he was, early in and had a lot of stock.
And now he's the richest man in the world.
Yes. So I guess the
question... Who pays himself $80,000 a year.
Well, his board does, yes. So the question is, do you think that there are other businesses at least who will see this and say, you know what? If Amazon kowtows at the feet of people like Ocasio-Cortez and there is no mercy, then maybe we need to switch teams.
That is becoming more likely as time goes on. Amazon, of course, made the exact same mistake that Mitt Romney made and everybody makes in the face of this kind of politically correct attack from imbeciles and layabouts. There's only one response to a statement like that from Ocasio-Cortez, and that statement is pound sand. If you want to pay people more money than we're paying them, then you go out and create a world-spanning empire. You pay them whatever you want to. But while you're just an observer, you're not even a passenger, let alone a person running the train. You're entitled to your opinion, but it means absolutely nothing to me, my company, or anything else. I don't have to defend myself to you or anybody else for that matter. If people don't want to work at Google, they can work someplace else. Go to hell. Piss off. That's what people need to say to people like this. And when they don't, when they either, because you hit the nail right on the head with that word, when they kowtow, when they bow down before the temple of political correctness and repression and all the rest, then all they do is encourage idiots like AOC to think that they actually have the power to do this. I really believe she thinks that she's got the power to do it.
How do you think that so many business leaders, especially from large companies that are tech companies and some of the, the internet companies like Amazon, have come either, I'm not sure how this happens. Either they've come up through the ranks of fairly hardcore Democrats or almost socialists in some cases, or they have, once they got their political feet under them, decided that the Democrats were the team that they wanted to play on. Why do you think the Democrats are doing so well with this group of people who has essentially promised to tax them into the Stone Age and has no love for them when they in fact are being taxed into the Stone Age?
The entire goal of the Frankfurt School for America was to make the socialist revolution not about the economy, but about the dispossessed. And the reason that so many of these billionaires are not only Democrats, but progressives, is because they've been utterly convinced that Republicans are stupid and that they're crass and that they are evil. And while And so what they'll do, and this is an important thing to remember, Scott, when you say they get behind a party that wants to tax them till their ears bleed, that's absolutely true. But they also know that they're not going to be taxed till their ears bleed because they have billions of dollars to spend on tax attorneys and accounting. The people who are going to get hurt are the people in the middle class, as usual, when this tax raise comes to people who can't find every single loophole under the sun and a tax code that stretches from the floor to the moon.
Well, so you're now saying the same thing that Joe Biden says, because Amazon is saying, look, we paid
If I am, it's by accident.
We paid $2.6 billion in corporate taxes since 2016. We pay every penny we owe. Congress designed the tax laws to encourage reinvestment in the American economy. We have reinvested $200 billion and created 300,000 jobs. Joe Biden says, look, I have nothing against Amazon, but no company pulling in billions of dollars of profit should pay a lower tax rate than firefighters and teachers. And to me, that sounded like the same thing that you were saying. He's saying we should reward work, not wealth.
We should reward both of them. And they're interchangeable, Scott. I mean, to say that we should reward work and not wealth is like saying I'm going to flip a coin and it's only going to have one side. It's not a question of which side comes up. There's only one side to the coin. It's not heads on both sides. It's just a coin with one side. There's nothing on the other side. You cannot separate the two. All that wealth is essentially it's crystallized work. It is the accumulation of things of value that you or AOC or anybody else has decided was important to them, and which they exchange through the medium of money, which essentially doesn't have any value whatsoever. And so when you say the work and the wealth, which one? They're the same thing.
Well, AOC and Joe Biden would say that wealth is crystallized sweat of poor working people.
Well, to some degree, that's true. And in exchange for their crystallized sweat, they've been given a salary. And if they don't think that's enough money for their crystallized sweat, they can go find someplace else where they can sweat for more money. But the problem with that, of course, is that now you start talking not about income inequality, but outcome inequality. And that's where you run into capital R reality, which is incompatible with the Democratic Party as we know it today, progressivism in general, and AOC in particular. Nothing that they believe makes any sense. And furthermore, while it's possible that they believe it, jury's still out on that for me with some people. While it is possible that they believe what they say, I have yet to see any of them actually do what they say they believe in. And this is why they're not going to win. This is why we are going to win.
Now, when you say you haven't seen anybody do what they say they believe in, are you talking about politicians or business people? Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about any liberal who talks about raising taxes and keeping vouchers out of the school system. We just saw Barack Obama's daughter graduate from the most exclusive school in the most exclusive neighborhood in the United States of America.
Sidwell Friends?
Yeah, he sits there beaming with pride, as he's entitled to as a father. But for this person to say, not only is my child going to a private school, but your child cannot go to a private school. Because that's what he's saying and that's what all the progressives and Democrats are saying with their no voucher policy. This is the essence of what we're talking about. It is an aristocracy. And if there are no perks to being a baron, then what's the point of being a baron or an earl or a duke or whatever the case may be? If I don't get to lord it over the peons, then why am I the duke in the first place? The motivation for people in these upper levels of progressivism, whether they're progressive businessmen or progressive politicians, is the ability to do things that other people not only can't do but are prohibited from doing. That's the perk. That's the thing that gets them their jollies. I think we should ban all of air travel, she says. Except, of course, for members of Congress who have a serious reason for going from one place to another quickly. You see how it works? I've said this before, and I'll say it again.
It's like a franking privilege for airlines.
Precisely. And I'll say this again, and this really needs to be understood by people. If you don't understand this, nothing they do or say is ever going to make any sense. You're going to think that they're just stupid. They're not. They're stupid and they're evil. But this is the point. Leonardo DiCaprio does not have a private jet so that he can go around the world lecturing people on global warming. Leonardo DiCaprio lectures people on global warming so that he can have the private jet. It's not that he can't afford the jet. Of course he can afford the jet. But he cannot have the jet, which is a symbol of everything he claims to be against, and still be against those things. So he has to do this kind of double kind of thing. Yes, private jets contribute more to greenhouse gases and global warming than anything else on the planet per person. And yes, I have a private jet. And yes, I fly my private jet around, and I go to Vegas, and I go wherever the hell I want to. But I also go to Paris peace conferences where I use my celebrity to raise awareness of all of these terrible, terrible crimes that are being committed against the environment. So I get a pass for the jet.
I think you're mistaken about that.
All there is to it.
I think you're mistaken about the reason why Leonardo DiCaprio has a private jet. My understanding is so he can fly to where he has his private yacht docked. I think that's the purpose of the private jet. But that said,
water travel's more efficient, saves the planet that way.
Exactly. It would seem to me there's an opportunity here that Republicans and even President Trump are missing. I mean, all you hear from President Trump is the Amazon Washington Post, and insults toward them. And wouldn't you think that somebody ought to give a call to Jeff Bezos and say, hey, why don't we go out and have a cup of coffee? I'd like to talk to you about the political philosophy that best benefits your company and your mission in life and your space ambitions with your space company, all of that. I'd like to talk to you about perhaps coming over to the side that really supports all that stuff. Why doesn't it seem like the Republicans are able to pull that off?
You're assuming that Jeff Bezos, who is the richest man in the world and undoubtedly one of the most savvy men in the world, undoubtedly very, very intelligent as well, but certainly one of the most savvy men in the world, you're making the assumption that he's never heard of this conservative thing or there's another party in America. Really? Do tell. He's not a Democrat because of Democratic policies, Scott. He's not a Democrat because of their tax policies. He's not a Democrat because of their stand on private property. He's not a Democrat because of their stand on freedom of speech. He's not a Democrat in any of these reasons. He's a Democrat because all of his friends are Democrats. And if you think the richest man in the world is going to give up his entire social circle just to make sense among people who are so far beyond making sense in terms of the amount of money they make and how they make it, it's just delusional. It's not that he doesn't know. He knows perfectly well. He just is not willing to be seen as one of those knuckle-dragging, Trump-voting Neanderthals who believe in things like limited government, low taxes, hard work, independence, freedom, wealth, and all the rest of the things that he's actually selling. He's selling products to people who work hard and who believe in these things. But he doesn't need it. If he is under a Democratic administration that he helped put into office with his donations, and he gets to talk to his friends about how he got Barack Obama or whoever elected, and that cost him a paltry $200 billion, what's that, right? Once you've got a couple $100 billion, once you've got $20 billion, your lifestyle does not improve significantly beyond that point. In fact, that threshold is much lower. So, what do you say about that? It's not like he doesn't know. Of course he knows. And his knee-jerk reflexiveness.
So it's not worth it for Republicans to even try.
The only way that Jeff Bezos would become a Republican would be if being a Republican was seen as being cool. And when I say cool, I don't mean smoking by, your motorcycle cool. I mean that it was the place where the decent and smart and caring people are, which of course is the truth, but they don't see it. Their politics is not connected to the world in any way. What these conversations these people have with each other, Bezos and Zuckerman and all of these guys, is not based on the same kind of reality that you and I live in. It's a world that doesn't matter really what the tax rate is. Jeff Bezos doesn't particularly care. I mean, you're looking at a person who's amassed so much wealth in their life that the most important creature comfort, which is his own ease in his skin, is not something that he's going to give up just to save some money by doing the right thing.
Well, the decent, smart, and caring people have always gathered among the membership at BillWhittle.com, and we are grateful to them for financing this episode and 47 others like it each month, as well as a website where they enjoy a private conservative enclave, so to speak, a place where members write their own blog and interact vigorously with each other around ideas that one might call civil dialogue, something that is precious and rare in this society. We're grateful to them. If you'd like to join their ranks, go to BillWhittle.com and click that Become a Member link. So for Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members for making it all happen.